Hey, this is TK11697, and today we're going to be talking about the Walt Super Factory AT-AT chest box. I did one last week that I just sent out to a customer that had been waiting for a while, but I got two more to do, and so before I send them out, I wanted to give a quick overview of how it should be done. First, the pieces. You're going to have, same as a tie chest box, 4 of these pieces here that you're going to have to cut out of the plastic. Might have a little flare to them. The difference between the tie chest box and the AT-AT chest box is that the AT-AT one has exact measurements or guidelines in the CRL that you have to follow. The tie, not so much. There's no numbers to go with the tie. The AT-AT one is pretty specific. Alright, so the numbers. Your bottom piece, which looks like this, and should have this flat part out. Top piece with this flat part out. The numbers here is from the bottom here to this line should be 3 inches. And unfortunately, with the way the mold is, you're not going to have that much extra room here. So we're going to have to put something like a backing to it. Top part here, when it goes together, is going to come together like this, right up to that line, and it's pretty big. It's going to be 7 inches tall. From the bottom here to the top here, it's going to be 7.5 inches wide from side to side, not counting these parts. And the diameter is 2.5 inches. And Walt Super Factory, all those specifications are met, so that's not a problem. It's just this top part here. So you're going to get 4 of these, and bottom piece, top piece. You don't get the greeblies with this kit. They're bought separate. But that's not a problem, and maybe I'll put a link in the video to where you could find them. Alright, so to begin, in the CRL, they talk about cutting these, and in the box that you see, one is a little bit bigger than the other. So now these are pre-cut, but the way I cut them is I've got a 20mm black one that I use from the tie chest box, and a 1-inch or 25mm one, so that the one on top is slightly bigger than the one on the bottom. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it that well, but you can see it's got a little bit more height to it. And the way I do it is take a razor, turn this part here so that it's bottom down, and I hope you can see this in the video. Take the razor and lead it in here so it's about the same height as the side. See how I've done this? Again, bottom down, and just run this around. Cut it into the plastic. I'm not using gloves. Plastic's pretty thick, and I'm ultimately going to cut it. I'm not going to just keep going around till it snaps off. But this will give you a marker for about 20mm because I'm using the shorter one now. So you don't absolutely have to be exact. I picked that number. I think that just works for me. And so you have a line that goes all the way around. Take out your snippers, and you just cut around that line. So once you've done that, you could use a belt sander, or you're going to need a sanding block to smooth it out, and that's essentially it. You're going to do it obviously 4 times. I also use a different way to be a little more exact. If you have a table saw that's adjustable, you can set it to 20 and 25mm respectively, and do it that way. You just run them through the table saw very carefully and try not to cut yourself. So that's how you do it. Again, like this, the razor flushed here, hold it down. It's going to have bottom down, and just run it around. I won't bore you with that again. The end result should be something like these 4 here. These are my 2 small ones, these are my 2 big ones. I've already cut the hole in here. And I didn't cut the hole in the other one because we're going to use the same trick that we did before, which is the hose that needs to be 1 1/4 diameter. So you want to make this a little bit bigger. Again, small Gatorade cap right there. Take a pen. I like to use these India ink markers. Draw it around because you could use a Clorox wipe. It'll come off. You're probably going to wind up painting the box anyway, but if you don't, a Clorox wipe will wipe it right off. And you can see you just cut that out. You could use a razor if you want, I use a Dremel tool and a belt sander, a handheld belt sander with a like or about a ½ inch wide belt. I think that that's just a little easier for me, and I've done it 100 times already. And then that's it. You have these, and you're good. The next step we're going to want to do is put these two halves together. Now, you just straighten out the bottom a little bit. There's like some imperfections in the plastic. That can't be helped. Don't go too crazy about it. If you're going to be OCD about ABS, that's not going to work out for you. ABS is not perfect, no matter how good you pull it. So you trim it down, you get these parts on the side here. You can trim these down, that's no problem. They're going to get covered up anyway like this. And same as the tie chest box. So, as I said, just leave it as is. If you want to straighten it out, you can, but nobody's going to see it. So we got this, right? Now, the top part is slightly wider than the bottom part. And so the trick is that you have to give, when we're going to back this with a 7-inch piece of ABS, we're going to put it like this, and then we're going to put another, we're going to glue this strip down here to kind of hang off it, because you got to remember with the AT-AT chest box up here, there's going to be a light thing. It's going to be about 1 inch wide, so you can have like an inch here, or 3/4 of an inch and 3/4 of an inch. And this part here, you're going to have about 1 inch wide and maybe 2 inches long of blinking lights or whatever you wind up buying. I'll give a link to that in the description. Matt Nelson makes really good setups for that, and they just go right in. So you got to remember there's going to be a hole here. You don't want to put too much ABS, to cover that hole. So take yourself, get the extra ABS, make it about 7 inches long, and then cut a 10mm strip off it. And you put it over it like this. And I'll show you, when you see it come together, I think I'll explain a little better as to why. So I'm going to take some CA glue, I'm going to run it across the top here. I'm going to put this down so that it's flush with the top. And just let that dry for a minute. Or I could use zip kicker. Wouldn't suggest doing this too much if you don't know what you're doing, but no one's going to see this part anyway, so you can screw this up a few times before you put it on. CA glue and zip kicker, by the way, I've mentioned this before in other videos. They chemically bond the plastic so that it's very rigid but could also crack. E6000 is just an adhesive, so it brings the two pieces of plastic together but doesn't weld them together. So if you bend it too much, well, it'll just come apart, but nothing will break. It's also, obviously not as well put together as CA glue, but it gives you a little more flexibility. There's pros and cons to both. CA glue, once it's on, by the way, it's on. It's not very forgiving that way. So I measured a line that starts 3 inches on the bottom. The way I did that was I took a ruler here, got the 3-inch mark, right? Put it flush, and just ran it across with the line. Pretty easy. We want to cut that off because we want this to sit on it flush. So again, you're going to take the snippers, or if you want to use a razor, whatever you prefer, and you just cut along that line. While I'm cutting, you guys could look in the corner of your screen. There's my Windows tablet, and it has the new AT-AT driver artwork for the stickers and patches I'm going to give out. So that's down here, and AT-STs as well. So that's what we're working on now. Anyway, so that's done. We got this trimmed off. This part now is dry, and you see it has a little bit of an edge. And again, the reason for the edge is because this sticks out a bit, so you kind of want it to almost hang down there, So, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to put this here, and then we're going to glue it to this part here. And if you want, I personally would recommend cutting out a section of the back, just so if you're going to put the lights in, or if you need to adjust something, you want to put magnets in. I think that's good. Again, however big you want to do it, it's up to you, but I'll cut mine out after we glue. I've got a way of doing that. So we're going to want to glue this in across the bottom so it's nice and flush. And we're going to use some CA glue there. CA glue. So it's 7 1/4 inches in width for the box. We made this, there we go. Made this 7 inches, so it covers most of it, and because it's only a 10mm strip on the top, it's not going to interfere with when you got to cut out this top part for the lights. So here you go. So we'll let that dry for a minute with a little bit of zip kicker. So it's in. I don't care if the box is a bit rigid. I think that makes sense. So that's drying. Now you want to get this under here so it'll be perfect. And that's it. So I'm going to cut the back halves of this. So I'm not going to put that together just yet. But and there you go. That's how the box goes together. That part, as a matter of fact, there we go. So it'll look like this. I might trim it down a little bit more, but that is it. That's your 7 inches right there. And then we're going to cover the sides with these. So when I get the finished product, I will show you in the next video where to go from there. So I'll see what the customer wants with this with lights. I'm not sure if this is the one with the lights or without the lights. And Greeblies, unfortunately, they said Greeblies don't come with the kit. And the front of this box has a big metal Greebly that goes across the top, or a sticker. And it could be different from, depending on where you get it. So my recommendation would be to put the sticker, at least overlay it first before you see what you got to cut, because you don't want to cut too much or too little and you want it to look good. So get your Greebly first for the front here. And that's kind of the big holdup right now. I don't have any of them. And I believe that's it. I will cover the sides and the cogs and stuff like that. It will look, this is a smaller child size one. It will look like this. This is primed, obviously. So there's a bit of a hole in the back to get in. And there you go. This is obviously 80% scale. Yeah, it's not the it's not going to be the 7-inch height. So, all right. Until part 2.